2018 is fast approaching and there are plenty of new fantasy releases coming. So here are my most anticipated fantasy books of 2018. If you're like me, you love fantasy, and I read a lot of fantasy. I also read a lot of science fiction, but that's for another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated releases for fantasy in 2018. And you may have some similar opinions, you may have some different ones. Let me know in the comments section below what you think are some of your most anticipated fantasy books of 2018. First up is Grey Sister by Mark Lawrence. It's a second book in the Book of the Ancestor series, and it looks kind of interesting. It seems that in this series there are girls who are in this convent who are raised to be killers. And there are 4 colors. Now, the first book is Red Sister, the second book is Grey Sister, and I'm assuming the third and the fourth will be Blue and Black Sisters. But the difference between these colors, well, I'll just read it right here. So, the Grey Sister, the Red Sister is the Martial Sister, the Grey Sister is Sister of Discretion, and Blue is a Mystic Sister, and Black is Bride of the Ancestor, and they have to have a life of prayer and service. So it kind of reminds me of Christianity, maybe Catholicism, but this doesn't seem anything like that, really. I mean, they're being trained to be assassins. Sounds interesting, huh? Next up is actually 2 books. One is Age of War, and the other is Age of Legends. These are both by Michael J. Sullivan, and they are books 3 and 4 of the Legends of the First Empire. Now, if you don't know what this is, it's a prequel to Rhaenyra Revelations, which I am currently reading. I finished the first book, and it takes place in the same world, but it takes place in the past. So I'm very interested in seeing what this is like. I enjoyed Rhaenyra Revelations book number 1, so I want to read this, definitely. Also, Michael J. Sullivan's a great guy to email. He will respond. And next is The Infernal Battalion by Django Wexler. It's book 5 in the Shadow campaigns, and it seems like this is a kind of military fantasy. And there's a lot of betrayal in this one as well, from what I've read of it. And in this one, there is something called the Beast. It's a demon that has been unleashed, and it is wreaking havoc everywhere. So they need to, of course, try to defeat this. But a great general is declaring himself emperor, and this is the betrayal, as far as I know. But it does seem like an interesting story. I'd of course have to read the first 4, but this is coming in 2018. Rare for me to talk about a YA book. The next one is YA, and this one is A Reaper at the Gates by Sabaa Tahir. This is the 3rd book in the An Ember in the Ashes series. Now, what makes this one interesting to me is that this is based on ancient Rome. It's, I guess, inspired by ancient Rome. And I haven't read any of her books before, but I am actually fairly interested in this one. I guess it has to do with the fact that I like history, and Rome is very interesting to me. So I would like to read this, even though it is YA, and I usually don't read YA. But she may actually have me interested in it. Slated to come out in 2018 is Walk in the Shadow by Steven Erikson. It's the 3rd book in the Carcanis trilogy. Now, as far as I know, this is based on the world that Malazan is set in. I think it's in the past, but I'm not exactly sure. You see, this book doesn't have any description yet. But the world that Steven Erikson has created is incredible. It is so detailed. It is so alive. The world building is incredible, and I really want to read this, of course, after all of the other Malazan books. And here's a big one. Now, this doesn't have an official title yet. It's the tentative title. It is The Lost Medal by Brandon Sanderson. It's the 7th book in the Mistborn series. Yeah, so I really want to read Mistborn. Actually, Mistborn book number 1 is the next book I'm planning on reading, and I'm really looking forward to it. I want to read everything Brandon Sanderson, and just knowing that this is a really long series makes me pretty excited. I like long series. I like getting into a world and staying there for a long time. So I'm looking forward to this one. Next up is Empire of Grass by Tad Williams. It is the 2nd book in the Last King of Austin Ord series. Now, I'm looking forward to this one too. It is based on the world introduced in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, which I have yet to read. But I will get to it soon. I have the whole series. But I am very interested in reading this one. The first book came out last year, and I talked about that in last year's edition of this video. So it seems like he's coming out with one book a year, which is a pretty good pace, so definitely want to read this. And then we have Wrath of Empire by Brian McClellan. This is the second book in Gods of Blood and Powder. I don't really know much about this, but from reading what this book is about, they're in the middle of a war and they're trying to get refugees out of this big city, the capital city. And of course, they're trying to turn the tide to win the war. I don't know if this is going to happen in this book, but I'm not sure how long the series is. But this seems like a pretty interesting book. So those are my most anticipated fantasy books of 2018, and it's a list of 10 of them. So, which ones do you want to read? And are there any others that you want to read? Let me know in the comment section below. If you want to watch last year's edition, then go right up here to this card and click on that. You can watch that. It's a bit shorter. There were fewer books in that video. If you like this video, then please give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see some more videos about fantasy books and science fiction, then please subscribe down below and check out those videos over there. You might find something you like. See you in the next video.